Welcome to Super Movie Brothers. Let's start the show.
Welcome to Super Movie Brothers. I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Dave.
I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Jay.
And what a busy holiday fucking season it was. I am still tired. Like, I feel like a narcoleptic. Like, I just keep passing out at random times. I've been trying to get through a couple seasons of shows that I got to catch up on, and I'll just sit on the couch, and then I'm like, you know what? I could go for a little bit of a lay down. And then I lay down, and I'm just like, yeah, this is comfy. This is... Wake up 2 hours later. What's going on? What I miss? And that's, I don't know what it is about the holidays, man, but it just like takes everything that you have in you and then just sucks it out, dude. It's like,
is it the stress, or is it just because you have so much going on?
Definitely not the stress. I don't get stressed out about the holidays. I think it's just like work is extremely busy because you have people out, you're on vacation, and if you're working during that time and weren't lucky enough to get off for vacation, then you are the one that's picking up the extra slack, and then you're coming home and you're doing everything else that you would normally do. On top of that, even when you have a day off, it's not a day off. You're going to visit this family member, that family member. People are coming over. You got things to do. There is zero time to relax.
Well, it's kind of funny because mine's the opposite.
I hate you.
It really is, because over the years, my holiday season has gotten more and more chill, more and more calmer, and especially with, for example, my cousin taking his whole family down to Disney this year for the holidays. There's been pretty much nothing going on. I had a nice Christmas Eve, usual routine, went to church with my mom, went to your family holiday party, and then Christmas Day was just at the house chilling. Other than that, I didn't do anything.
I hate you on most days, but now hearing that you're living stress-free, I hate you even more.
Look...
So, fuck you. Anyway.
I'd rather have stuff to do. I mean, I didn't even go out for New Year's, for Christ's sake. I mean, I didn't do anything.
Neither did I. And that was the best part. I did nothing.
It was extremely low-key.
I watched that ball drop. I watched some movies. And
I
then
didn't even do that. I've been binging The Wire.
Dad, let's get into what are you watching?
What are you watching?
What are we watching?
I think he's trying to watch some illegal channel.
Always watching.
No, go past this part. In fact, never play this again.
All right, Jay, so you've been watching a show that's been off the air for about 10 years.
No, about 20 years.
About 20 years, yeah. When I went back and watched that show, somewhere around like 2010 or so, I started watching that show. I remember when I first got HBO, that was one of the first shows I went back and watched. And I was like, son of a bitch, they're using typewriters in that shit.
Oh, no doubt.
That's typing up
That's
reports.
the coolest thing about this. So, like, it's like in the age of new phones and like cell phones and like the burner phones, like back when 2000, 2001, that kind of era, and how that has changed the landscape for policing, but also for criminals. And it's really interesting. I'm gonna say it's almost finished season 3.
It's about a whole lot more than that, but if that's
no, I know
what you're taking away from it, sure.
But it's just a very, very realistic take on Baltimore's crime and also the underbelly of it all, along with the political aspects and policing aspects of the city.
Absolutely.
So it's a really engaging and intriguing look behind the scenes.
And you get Dominic West, who was fantastic in that show and never really anything else after that. But it launched a career of Idris Elba and Michael B. Jordan. So
yes, it did.
It's a great show, and if you haven't checked it out, you probably should. But you're probably like me and watched it about 10, 15, 20 years ago. So
right. I'm fully aware. I'm well overdue to see this. I've already seen the season 1 probably 10 years ago.
Right.
I just never actually went back to finish the rest of the series. And I had a little bit of a limbo time because I went to the theaters. I caught up with most of the things that I wanted to see. And then I really didn't have too much at home to watch at the moment. So I was like, I really felt like binging on something. And I finally went back. It's free on Amazon Prime. So
it's kind of like the motto of your life, right? Like you wait until your mid-30s to start an actual career.
Right.
You wait until your mid-30s to to go back to school, and then you wait until your mid-30s to watch one of the greatest TV shows of all time.
All it took was a bald spot to formulate for me realizing I'm getting old. I got to start catching up with life.
Renaissance man Jay has finally seen The Wire, so congratulations. So
thank you.
As I do most New Year's Eve, it was like a tradition growing up on New Year's Eve. Like my parents didn't go out anywhere. We stayed at home, and we rented movies we hadn't seen or movies that we saw throughout the year and we really enjoyed and just wanted to watch again. So last night, the two movies that we hadn't seen that me and Lauren decided to watch was The Peanut Butter Falcon, which you reviewed for us earlier on in the year.
Yes.
And I got to say, it was everything that you said it was. It's absolutely a fantastic performance by Shia LaBeouf. I love the dual aspect of him where like he is a piece of shit. He's a vile piece of shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he's got a fucking heart of gold. Nickel head, heart of gold.
He's got like a kind of, I don't want to say a code, but like he's just he's out for himself.
Yeah.
He's got no filter, but ultimately his heart's in the right place.
Yeah.
He's still rough around the edges.
Like 100 guys,
without a doubt.
like 100 guys that I grew up with that are probably living life right now. But it was really well done, and it's probably the first movie where I was like, hey, I really like Dakota Johnson here. Like I didn't dislike her. I dislike her in most things.
Yeah.
But I liked her here. It's definitely worth your watch. No word yet on whether it'll be on my top 5 of the year, which we'll be doing towards the end of this show. We got our top 5 of 2019. So you'll just have to stick around to find out whether it made my list. And Jay, the other film that we watched last night that I hadn't seen before was Yesterday. And so it got middling reviews. Like I don't know,
Sure.
I don't know what its Rotten Tomatoes score is, but some people really loved it. Some people were like, man, it was all right. No one really outright hated it. I watched it.
Same type of reactions as the Bruce Springsteen film.
Yeah, no, Blinded by the Light people loved.
Well, Blinded by the Light still had mixed, maybe not mixed reviews, but actually was not seen.
Oh,
very
not
much
seen
within this year, along with Yesterday.
Yeah, I'll go with that. But I remember Blinded by the Light having rave reviews. I mean,
we both liked it a lot.
Yeah.
And then also Yesterday, I thought was going to be a bit of a hit because I thought the trailer was great. They did a good job. He's a great singer.
Yeah, I mean, it's
the fucking Beatles. I mean, who doesn't love listening to the Beatles?
Blinded by the Light currently carries a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. So that's really good, Jay. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you do it.
I guess it was. No, I'm not talking about critically. I'm just thinking about fans. I don't know. I just haven't heard many people talk about it.
Gotcha.
And that's probably what it was.
And Yesterday carries a 63% score on Rotten Tomatoes, but a 90% score on its audience score. So people like it. And I'm one of those people, Jay. I watched it and I really enjoyed it. Man, I loved singing along with it. I loved when he's going through, there's like a moment where he's trying to remember all the words to all the songs because he has no way to access them now. Like when he wakes up in this world where the Beatles don't exist, Coca-Cola doesn't exist, Oasis doesn't exist. He's finding out slowly and slowly. There's these other things in pop culture and that we just, it's just part of our daily lives that don't exist anymore. He's trying to remember the Beatles songs, and I'm sitting there with him throughout it, trying to remember the words to Eleanor Rigby, but it was a lot of fun. But I think it is a character piece, and that's kind of where it falls apart a little bit. Like he has this turn towards the end where I was just like, I'm not sure if I really buy that. You know what I mean? Like I'm not sure if I buy these characters making these decisions and stuff like that.
Okay.
The story itself kind of moves at a rapid pace, and then once you reach the conclusion, you had a lot of fun singing along with the songs and taking this journey with them, but you're kind of glad that it's over, and you're happy where it ended, but I think you're just more happy that the movie is going off and you're going to be putting on something else.
Interesting. So it outstayed its welcome.
A little bit, I would say. Yeah, its charm wears off a little bit,
Okay.
Kate McKinnon, I did not like her in this film. I know she's supposed to be an unlikable character, but it was in this realm of so cunty, like in it, and she did the character really well. It's just
underappreciated word.
I got annoyed by her presence, like every time because I think it was so over the top, like that. I just got annoyed by it. So, but I still wound up really enjoying it. Definitely not on my top 5. You don't have to wait to find out whether that's on my top 5 or not. And then you skipped out because you're so busy watching a show from 20 years ago. You skipped out on the Mandalorian season finale, buddy.
I did.
Yeah.
I'm 2 episodes behind.
Jesus.
I don't know what it is. look, I love the series. I love the show so far.
Get with it, my man.
I am just so locked in right now with The Wire, and I feel ashamed. I really do. However, I did go to the theaters, Dave.
I don't care.
And I caught some interesting films.
I don't care. I don't care.
This is the way.
This is the way. This is the way.
Well, I'm briefly
I'm talking about The
get into
Mandalorian right now. And I'm
okay,
about
we'll
to-
get into The Mandalorian.
Yeah, I'm going to throw up the spoiler warning
just
now
do
because
it.
I'm going to
Just do
spoil
it.
it
Just
for
spoil
Jay.
my ear holes. Just do it. Fuck it.
Spoiler warning. Spoiler warning. Spoiler warning.
So the entire season, like my big complaint, like going into it, was I really enjoyed the first episode, the second episode, third episode had some great action, and then they kind of like start doing this galaxy hopping where they're like they're here for this week doing a story here, a small story here, small story there.
But the big scope of the show
Comes together in episodes 7 and 8, where they return to Navarro and they're going to settle up with the Empire. And, it's really, really good at that point. There's a moment in the very beginning of episode 8 that I absolutely love. It's just two stormtroopers, two scout troopers having like this normal, like workday conversation with each other. And it's absolutely hilarious. And then there's like this thing on the ground that they're both trying to shoot with their pistols and they keep missing. So it's like that old joke that like the stormtroopers can't shoot. And it was this moment that like borderlined on like this comedy doesn't fit with the rest of the show, but it ended at the exact right time where it would have outstayed its welcome. It was brilliant. And this episode was directed by Taika Waititi, so it makes sense for that type of humor to be in there.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, like, for this show, Deborah Chow was the director that blew me away with. She directed episode 7 and a bunch of other episodes. So Deborah Chow is behind the entire Obi-Wan series, which has me extremely excited for that. No word. I think it's like a tentative, like 2021 or 2022 release. So it's a fair bit off. But when The Mandalorian started, I would have given like the first 2 or 3 episodes just a straight up first episode A+, episode 2 and 3 A's. And then while I really enjoyed, the story, these small stories that we're getting with The Mandalorian in them throughout, I felt like we were getting far away from a cohesive story, and I think as we watch TV in the modern era, we're looking for everything to connect, right? Like, if you think about the way TV shows have become, we want every episode to build on from the last one and take us forward in the story. Where this felt like more of short stories in the Mandalorian's world, until we get to episodes 7 and 8. So by the time we get there, man, I'm back on board with it and absolutely loving every minute of it. And man, I got to tell you, Jay, you haven't seen it yet, but the way it ends, pretty fucking perfect.
Yeah, I've been hearing really good things.
It's pretty perfect. It leaves you with a nice, just enough of a question mark where you're ready for season 2,
Beautiful.
but it wraps this story up. So like if they never came back for, let's say, another Mandalorian season, which we already know they're in production on season 2, but if they never came back for another season, you could actually just be satisfied with this right here.
So instead of Kathleen Kennedy at the helm with the Star Wars episodes, we should have had Jon Favreau all this time.
Jon Favreau and Kevin Feige, give those. And Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni is a big creative force in The Mandalorian. He was behind the Clone Wars, Rebels.
I know, that is true.
He was. And he was a director of this episode.
He directed, I think, the first 2
in
episodes,
those 3 men's hands. I would probably think that a lot of fans, especially after this time where we are post Rise of the Skywalker, and people's feelings on it are a little mixed. Certainly critically, it's not doing well. Audience score is a lot more positive, but there are fans who are just weren't as happy with it as they could be. It's very clear there was no cohesive story. But if you put those 3 in charge of like everything Star Wars going forward, I think you could say Star Wars is in a pretty safe fucking place at that point. But hey, I absolutely love The Mandalorian. I'm not going to spoil it here. We actually recorded a video tonight for one small aspect of the season finale of Mandalorian. That's going to go up on YouTube. So I'll put a link to it in the description of this episode once that is posted. So, and then what did you go to the theaters and see? What did you watch?
Well, I caught up with Uncut Gems. So the Safdie brothers' latest film with Adam Sandler. playing this charismatic jeweler from New York City, and he is also a compulsive gambler.
Yeah.
Degenerate, just piece of shit.
And a lot of people are like, wow, I never knew that like Adam Sandler had this in him. Why has he been producing all this shit, over these past couple years? And it's like, here's the thing.
Because he can.
Uncut Gems is not a Happy Madison production. This is not coming out of his production house. He is just an actor acting in someone else's script, in someone else's movie for someone else's studio and production company. So that's why it's good. He has no creative control over it whatsoever.
And you're 100% right. And you're right.
That's
and
why it's good.
It's very, it's interesting because the way this got developed, this was the film that they've wanted to produce for a long time. They had this written out for a while, and Sandler actually passed on this before they made Good Time. So obviously when Good Time came out,
Good Time, slap at the bass. Slap at the bass. Have a good time, yeah.
It was beloved. I mean, people loved it. People raved about it. It got them on the map. And so after that success...
Only you rave about Good Time. I don't rave about Good Time.
Well, a lot of people have.
I had an okay time watching Good Time.
You had an okay time, which is interesting because I do feel like it's a love it or hate it type of film. So it's kind of interesting to hear somebody be...
middling on it?
Middling on it, yeah.
When I was done, I went, well, that's a J movie right there.
So... if you thought that was ramped up to a 10, this one is probably ramped up to 11 on the...
No, I'd say that was about a 7. That was a solid 7 for me.
No, I'm sorry. As far as the anxiety-inducing, edge-of-your-seat, thriller, suspense...
Never once felt anxiety for a moron. Like, that's...
Okay.
The entire time I'm watching that movie, this guy's a moron. I can't wait till he gets caught.
I think it's because this guy, Adam Sandler plays, is just making one bad decision after another. He's got this is only shot in like a couple days, 2, maybe 3 days, and he's just using money all over the place to either place bets or to pay back somebody else, the mob, other jewelers in the area, his family dynamic mixed in with the girlfriend mixed in. This is so well done and executed. However, it is so fucking exhausting where I don't want to revisit this movie again. I think I can revisit Good Time over this movie, even though I think this is a more well done feature.
So you're saying there's a possibility that I may actually like Good Time more than I would like Uncut Gems, given my feelings on Good Time.
Actually, no, I think opposite. I think you're going to actually enjoy Uncut Gems more because there's more going on. There's more story. There's more of a world.
I still feel like
Good Time was very singular. He was a one-man show. He was on a mission, and that was it.
Can we?
This is unpredictable. You don't know what the hell's going on.
Can we bring something back we haven't had in a little while, Jay?
Sure.
Can we bring back Jay's Indie Corner? So you're describing his film Uncut Gem, and every time I hear the title, I think it's about a family of people who were called the Gems. That's their last name. And it's all about the father's decision when his son is born about whether to circumcise him or not. Which is a real thing. It's a real thing when you have a kid. When they're like, so I know
because his penis was already such a gem where he didn't want to disturb it by cutting it.
There's still the possibility that they can over-circumcise, or they may actually damage the penis enough that it may lose sensitivity.
You mean to give him a big tip?
Or that the tip could get cut off completely. So there's like they warn you about all this when they come to ask you. Now, when my daughter was being born, they don't ask the mother either. They look directly at the father's face and they're just like, so I know that your sonograms or your ultrasounds and everything have said that you're having a girl, but just in case it comes out as a boy, are we going cut or uncut? Like, what are we doing here? And like I immediately was like, I don't know. I already prepared myself for the one eventuality of it being a girl. What if it's a boy? And then I looked around and like I immediately I went and like felt myself and I was like, is it more visually pleasing and is that worth it for doing it? And then I was like, wait a minute, there's going to be a moment where I'm going to have to teach my son, if I don't circumcise him, how to wash underneath the foreskin. And that is something I don't even know how to do because I'm circumcised.
First of all, visually, it's not good looking at all. It's horrifying, I think.
Oh, you don't like seeing an elephant trunk in pornos?
Going on safari, motherfucker. Safari.
No.
That's how you know someone's European, right? When you see it, you're just like, this is a European porn
And then,
star,
too,
right?
exactly, the hygiene aspect, right?
I wouldn't know what to do.
Right.
So that's why I was
Me
like,
neither.
you know what? I don't remember being circumcised. It didn't cause any damage to me whatsoever. So let's do it, Doc. Let's snip his little shit. Let's do it. If it happens. Came out to be a girl. I don't have to cross that bridge. But if I get there again, now I don't have to be so afraid. But Uncut Gems just sounds like it is a father's inner turmoil. I could picture an indie film being all about that. Where he goes to art galleries and just studies penises that are uncut, and he's just like,
So in case any of you
Surveying
are
women.
new listeners, I guess you could say earlier in our shows, we did Jay's Indie Corner.
Yeah.
We haven't done it in a little while. And Dave would do a fake synopsis
Well, that's my
on
fake synopsis.
the titles that I was reviewing. So this is Dave's.
A guy's last name is Gems, and he has to decide whether he wants his son circumcised or not.
I love it.
And he agonizes over the decision, and it's just us watching his agony on 90 minutes of film.
Beautiful.
All right, continue with your review, Jay.
No, I'm moving on. Moving on to Little Women. Little Women.
I knew you were going to see this because of your absolute Nambla level boy love of Timothy Chalamet.
Hi, everyone. I am a young boy looking for fun times with older male.
Well, it's not really for him. It's really for Greta Gerwig.
Are you sure? Because
she's the writer and director. Look, he's just a bonus.
I'm pretty
he's just a cherry on the cake, mate.
I'm pretty sure that you are a card-carrying member of the North American Man-Boy Love Association, and you would bring Timothy Chalamet to every meeting with you.
First of all, I've only seen 2 films of his.
You've seen a bunch. He's been in.
He's only had I think 4 or 5. He's so fucking new.
Wasn't Call Me by Your Name your number 1 film last year?
Well, right, but that's pretty much the only movie I've seen. I mean, other than that, Greta Gerwig's other film,
Not true. You watched
she
the
was
one.
in that.
You watched the one where
he was technically in Interstellar. He played Matthew McConaughey's son.
But you liked the one where he was the son of Steve Carell and he was on drugs. You watched that one
Beautiful
too.
Boy.
Beautiful Boy.
I forgot about that. He did a good job with that.
Beautiful Boy. Such a beautiful boy.
That's a hard movie to watch, too.
Beautiful Boy, Call Me by Your Name.
He's good, and he's good in this as well. Everybody's good in this film.
He's
a
your
great
new Gosling,
ensemble.
buddy. He's your new stroke.
He's kind of my new Gosling.
He's
You're
your
right.
new stroke material.
He is.
Getting into the twinks.
Back in the
bit of a
day, it
hairless
was like
boys,
Johnny Depp and Jude Law. And now it's kind of moving on to Gosling and Chalamet.
There was a time where Jay was attracted to a bear like myself, but now he's all about the twinks like Timothy Chalamet.
He's like a porcelain doll. He's just no hair.
So smooth.
So smooth.
Just want to kiss his body up and down, don't you?
I still got a little Jeff Goldblum in me too. I like a little Jeff Goldblum.
And for my dad listening, it might be the first time my dad has ever heard the term twink. I may have to explain this to him next Saturday when I go over for dinner. So.
Oh boy, topic of conversation.
All right, but anyway, Little Women.
Yeah, so Greta Gerwig has adapted this famous novel.
Yeah.
It's very beloved. I never read it, of course.
Of course. It was a hit back in the late 90s as well. It was a film. It was. It's
been adapted before.
Yeah.
Now, this is a film that she wanted to do badly. And, she wrote this, she directed this. Saoirse Ronan insisted that she played Jo, the main lead girl in the March Sisters clan. And it's absolutely a delight. It's one of the best cinematography
and Florence Pugh as well, right?
Films I've seen in a long time. Oh yeah. So not just that. Emma Watson is in this thing. The girl from that Sharp Objects show on HBO. So she was in this as well. She's
so pretty
really
much
good.
if you're
Laura Dern,
if you're an up and coming under
Pugh.
30, you were in this a female female
this
actor
was a big property.
up and coming under 30.
Yes.
You were in this film.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, not just that. I mean, everybody likes Greta Gerwig. I mean, Lady Bird was fantastic. It was a really well done feature.
I enjoyed that one that you made me watch last year. I enjoyed it. I liked it quite a bit.
And this one is infectious. You absolutely love this family. You are immersed in this family. You love it.
I was going to ask you whether it takes liberties with the original story or not, but
I don't know.
You wouldn't know.
I wouldn't know. I know it does from a little bit of research that I've had from this. But at the same time, my biggest issue with this movie, and probably my only issue with this movie, is that she does a lot of flashbacks and flash forwards, you can say. So current time to back in the day time, like 10 years prior, and it's all the same actors trying to look younger
back in the day,
and it sometimes works, but oftentimes it doesn't work because
so let me ask you, how was Meryl Streep? Was she just as fantastic as she is in
not in it
else?
very often, but she was good.
Yeah.
No, she was solid. She's just very it was fine. She's barely in the movie. She's a figure. She obviously just wanted to be a part of this book. And
really? Because from the trailer, I was like, I'm most interested in her as a person, where she's like, you've got to get married, dear, but you never married. Yeah. Well, it's different because I'm rich.
Right. And
I want to know more about this lady.
She has some good zingers. She has a lot of good lines, obviously, and she delivers them great. She's not a big prominent figure in this story, in this movie.
Fair enough.
It's definitely Joe, and it's definitely Amy as well. Florence Pugh's character as well comes into it a lot, but really every single character has a lot of time to shine, and it's fantastic. It's really interesting because it does tackle some interesting subject matter, and it's still prevalent to this day as far as equality for female compensation in the workforce along with men, and it's still prevalent to this day. So it's certainly worth watching. As far as structurally wise, I thought that she could have done a better job of splicing the flashbacks and flash forwards a little bit better, or just cut them out, overall, or splice them in a little bit differently throughout the film, because sometimes you're a little confused.
Splicing, also fancily known in filmmaking as editing, but
sure.
I have to ask you before we move on to our top 5 of 2019. First off, are you done?
I'm done.
Done. All right. Do you have a shirt on underneath this hoodie that you're wearing?
I do not.
So Jay is here in the studio.
This is what I wear around the house usually. I just throw this hoodie on.
He's got like his hoodie zipped halfway down, and I'm like, all I'm seeing is his chesticles and his chest hair sticking out, and I was just like, he's probably just wearing a beater, so he wouldn't just show up to my house practically shirtless. But no, he's shirtless.
I got a hoodie on.
But your top says comfort, but your bottom is jeans. Are you wearing jeans?
Jeans.
Get the fuck out of here. Look at me. I'm in sweatpants. I got a thermal on underneath the t-shirt. I'm ready. I'm ready for comfort, dog.
These are stretchy jeans. They're comfortable.
This episode of Super Movie Brothers is sponsored by Blowfish, the miracle hangover cure. So if it's been a long holiday season for you,
and has it been?
And you've been bouncing back and forth between this party, that party, this party, that party, and you've been dealing with your family the entire time, and the only way for you to get through it is for you to drink your way through those parties, or if you came to my house and you had one of my dad's drinks, which is pretty much half Jack, half Coke, a little bit of rum on top, a splash of grain alcohol, and you drink 2, 3, 4 of those, you're going to want to reach for some Blowfish. So
I did.
Head over to 4hangovers.com, use the promo code SMBFish, get your 15% off of the Miracle Hangover Cure. Welcome back. It is time for me and Jay's top 5 of 2019. I'm going to be honest, man. 2019 started out as a pretty rough year for movies. You got a few decent ones sprinkled in here and there. As the summer went on, it became increasingly less likely that we were going to get anything of like real substance that we were going to fall in love with. But it here in
after the summer, it just turned.
September, October, November, December. We got some truly outstanding films, but not all of my films that I have on my list are from that time of year. I do have ones that were outstanding ones sprinkled in from the beginning that I really enjoyed. But as far as it's really a mixed bag as far as like a year in film goes, and I think like you could take any year and really see how much of a mixed bag. I mean, but there are some true standout years in film. And I look back at this and I don't think there's anything that was like, we're going to look back on that. And that's that's this year's Gladiator. That's this year's Avatar. That's this year's, Titanic. This is this year's, Godfather or anything like that. I'm not sure if any of these films will resonate in 10 to 20 years down the line.
I think some will be referenced to some degree. Some things
I can think of one that was such a big deal,
right? I think we're on the same page.
That it's going to continue to be referenced because that film franchise is still going. MCU, obviously.
But even say, like, for example, The Irishman, right? With the technology, that was a big deal, right?
Absolutely.
So there was a lot of interesting things that played.
And there was even a Star Wars film that, of course, is going to be talked about in years to come.
Of course.
And will always be part of the Star Wars pantheon. But is it the sequel we deserved as fans? That's still debatable. But let's get into our top 5 list. Let's stop teasing the dick and everything. Let's just go full ham on it. Let's deep throat it as hard as we can.
And again, everybody, this is our top favorite films.
Yeah, these are our favorite films that we're taking away from the year of 2019.
Yes. We're not doing the best or anything like that. We're going to be doing our top 5, and then we're going to do 5 honorable mentions as well.
Which round out each of our top 10s.
Sure. But we're top 5 guys. So I'll start off?
Yeah. What's your number 5, Jay?
My number 5, Dr. Sleep.
Clever. You've made some improvements, haven't you? Since the last time I was in your mind. Where are you, Pop?
You're gonna die here.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So go. What was it about Dr. Sleep, man?
Dr. Sleep
resonated with you?
Well, lots of things. I mean, marrying up the couple of a Stephen King novel, right? Beloved, classic, right? But also very dense literature.
You almost came up with a porn name right there. Stephen Skin. You almost said Stephen Skin, and that would be a great porn
Stephen
name.
Foreskin.
Stephen Foreskin. Uncut Gems, Stephen Foreskin.
But
anyway.
But, also staying true to, Kubrick's Shining movie, because this is a sequel. I mean, it really is through and through. And if you want to believe it or not, it really is. And Mike Flanagan.
It really was a threesome of Mike Flanagan.
Oh yeah.
And Mike
Kubrick and King.
Mike Flanagan was the guy in this. It was like female threesome.
If King and Kubrick fucked,
right,
they would have birthed Flanagan because he delivered the perfect. Child.
It's a female threesome, and Mike Flanagan had to both please Kubrick fans and King fans at the same time.
I think he did it perfectly.
And he just laid there in postcoital bliss, just staring at the ceiling, just watching the ceiling fan go around, just being like, I did it. I'm a god amongst men. I pleased everybody.
And I guarantee you this movie is going to stand the test of time.
Meanwhile, J.J. Abrams was sitting there trying to please fans of The Last Jedi and fans of Star Wars past and stuff like that. Failed miserably and is standing there with a limp dick just going like, I couldn't do it. I couldn't pull it off. But Mike Flanagan did do it.
He did do it.
Yeah,
he did.
Fair enough. All right, Jay, my number 5. It's a comedy and 2 female leads, and I absolutely loved this film. It's Booksmart.
I'm so cool when I walk through. Got to move to the groove right now. I'm a bad motherfucker, yeah. You know it, keep going. I came straight off the stage up a glass door.
What? Excuse me? Oh. What? Oh. What?
Missed ya.
I missed you. I missed you so much.
Been one night.
Are we gonna go to school or?
Nope. I don't think we are.
No, we're just gonna stay.
Ah, yes.
So I loved Booksmart, man. I wanted on this here because like it's one of the few films that like after I watched it, I wanted to go back and watch it again to pick up all of like the smaller like little jokes and everything like that. But really, what sold me on it was the two leads, Caitlin Dever and Beanie Feldstein. Like, they were both absolutely fantastic in it. The supporting cast was great with Lisa Kudrow, Jason Sudeikis, and Will Forte. But directed by Olivia Wilde, practically a first-time director, like one of her first big feature films. Yeah. But it had such a fresh take on the teen comedy, and it fit in so many like little aspects of what we think is true about the youth of today, and kind of like pulled the curtain back on that. But it still did it in a funny, irreverent way that just resonates, and I think it still will resonate. Like, I watched this movie and I was like, I don't want to say it's the female American Pie, but I want to say it's going to be remembered in the same way American Pie is, as kids grow up.
You know, it's kind of like you know how this is obviously a very youth heavy film. It is also very woke. This is like one of the biggest woke, quote unquote, woke films ever.
I could see that.
And it's extremely smart. It's really well written. I agree.
It's so well written, and it was just so funny, and it all comes together, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm a big fan of Caitlin Dever. I have been for a little bit of time here, especially back in the day when you had me watch the one with Brie Larson. Short-term 12. I loved her in that, and I've been kind of like following her career since then, and she is fantastic.
She's a talent,
and I just loved this movie.
I'm really curious to see what Olivia Wilde does again.
Yeah, me too. I would like to see her. I would like to see her tackle another comedy like this before moving on to bigger things. So, but yeah, Booksmart, man, I absolutely loved it. Jay, what's your number 4?
Number 4 is Avengers Endgame.
You know what I need? I need a shave. And I believe I remember telling Tony, live and otherwise, that what we needed was a pseudo armor around the world. Remember that? Whether it impacted our precious freedoms or not. That's what we needed.
Well, that didn't work out, did it?
I said we'd lose. You said, we'll do that together too. And guess what, Cap? We lost. And you weren't there. But that's what we do, right? Our best work after the fact. What are the Avengers? We're the Avengers, not the pre-Vengers. Okay. Right?
You made your point. Just sit down, okay?
No, here's my point. You know what?
Just sit down.
We need you. You're new blood. A bunch of tired old mules. I got nothing for you, Cap. I got no coordinates, no clues, no strategies, no options, zero, zip, nada. No trust.
Wow, I can't believe this is so low, but go ahead, just go on it.
Dude, this is my number 4, brother. This is still up there. After all the fucking movies I've seen this year, yes, I love this movie. And this movie still brings me to tears multiple times. Still to this day. Just watch that fucking ending. I literally cried 3 days ago when I watched the final battle sequence when he says Avengers Assemble. I'm fucking crying.
Just watched it last night.
With tears, Dave.
Yeah, watched it on New Year's Eve. It was how we capped off our New Year's Eve by watching Avengers Endgame.
That alone, I mean, come on. Like,
it culminates
It's not a perfect movie, however, it does encapsulate the whole decade.
Their whole saga.
Really well. The whole saga. The
11 years of films, and
everything comes full circle, and it comes together in such a great way, and I'm so happy. I'm really just very, very happy, and I love this movie. It's very rewatchable, and it hits me in the feels, obviously, because I don't think I cried more in any other movie than this year than this movie. So kudos to them. Kudos to the Russo brothers for delivering, again, something that should not have been able to get pulled off, and they pulled it off. So good, kudos to them.
All right, so Jay, my number 4 was your number 5.
Yes.
It is Dr. Sleep.
When I was a kid, there was a place. A dark place. They closed it down and let it rot. But the things that lived there... Hello, Daddy. They come back.
Nice.
So Dr. Sleep for me, you already talked about it, the marriage between the book and the film and bringing it together to give a satisfying sequel to both. But, we didn't focus on what I thought was the best aspect of it, which was Ewan McGregor and Rebecca Ferguson. Just both of them.
Yes.
Rose the Hat was such a fantastic
Love her.
one that I wasn't sold on, back when I read the book, but when I saw her here on film, I really enjoyed Rose the Hat, and I really enjoyed the conclusion that they gave to her and the way that they took, just the last act of this film comes together, and it really is a marriage of the book and the film and stuff, and brings it all together in such a poignant, nice way. And I don't think I can speak highly enough about the acting ability that was in this movie, but just how much.
And the young girl did a great job as well.
And
she was new.
Just the way I felt when I left the theater, I was just immediately like, I want to go back, watch that, and pick up every single Stephen King Easter egg that I can possibly pick up and talk about it.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch it again. I'm really looking forward to it.
That's my number 4. All right, Jay, what is your number 3?
Number 3, Knives Out.
We're officers of the law.
You gonna run me in? I don't feel like talking. I'm distraught.
Hey, Benny, you want to ask this guy some questions?
All right, what is this? What's this arrangement?
Mr. Drysdale.
CSI KFC?
So Ryan Johnson pulled off something that was fresh, original, and it's a classic. It's a classic genre. It's a whodunit film, right? It's a big ensemble whodunit film.
Right, but it's a whodunit film whose spoilers, you figure out who done it in the first act. The first act ends by you figuring out who actually done it.
Sure.
So it turns the genre, this genre on its head a little bit.
It does, and it's got a lot of twists and turns. Really, really snappy dialogue. Really well acted. The production design is fantastic in this big mansion house.
And another story that's somewhat woke, by the ending of it and stuff like that.
Yes,
but
it does have an underlying overall political message.
It does it in a more subverted way than
very
Booksmart
subtle.
does. Right?
Oh, of course.
Very subtle, but still fun to pick up on.
But so much fun. And again, I was vocal about this, guys, and you guys might remember, I hid this trailer. I didn't like it. I was not excited until I heard the buzz coming up, with a week or two before the release. So when you and I saw the film, and we were completely just blown away by it. I mean, I just thought this thing was almost nearly perfect.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah,
so well done. So yeah, that was my number 3.
It's a fart. It's a fart.
Fart in the wind? What?
It's a fun, smart, snappy script. The only thing that I dislike about it is there's some family characters who are introduced to us in the beginning that fall by the wayside, and then Jamie Lee Curtis mainly.
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't bother me because I think you understood where her character was,
and how one character, the kid from Stranger Things, the little neo-Nazi,
I know,
he was literally there as a plot device to be the one to overhear a certain conversation that gives you the conclusion to the film. Which that bothered me a little bit, and to me, for something that was that smart to just kind of treat something that way, I was like, you know what, they still only have 2 hours to tell a story, so. I really enjoyed that movie, though, so I don't disagree with it being on your top 5 list. All right, Jay, my number 3. This is one that I know is not on your list whatsoever. In fact, I'm 100% sure that you haven't even watched it, even though I really wanted you to. I really love this film. It is a zombie comedy. It is Little Monsters.
Warning, this movie contains flesh-eating zombies. Assault with a deadly guitar. Strong language.
Fuck, douchebag.
Stop fucking swearing. Firearms. Disembowelment. Death metal. Gore. Meatball Hungalon. And Academy Award winner Lupita Nyong'o.
This might be a little much for everyone.
I have not yet. I know.
So this film stars Lupita Nyong'o.
She's had a hell of a year.
Yeah, Alexander England and Josh Gad. And dude, it was directed by Abe Forsyth, who hasn't really done a whole lot in the directing realm. So this is kind of like his first big film, that has been released in the States. And it didn't even get a full theater release, man. It got a Sundance, tour. It got its indie film tour, but then it came to Hulu streaming for free here in the States. But dude, I absolutely love this movie. It was a perfect blend of horror and comedy, and Lupita Nyong'o was just absolutely perfect.
Now, let me ask you: do you think this is like a cult film?
100%. This is going to be a cult film.
Okay,
this is more of a cult film.
This is shocking, right? Because I was okay with the trailer.
We did a trailer park for it.
I know, and I saw the potential that it could have been great.
It's good.
It could have had the potential to be great.
My tagline for my review was, if you've ever wanted to see a movie that sees Josh Gad getting hit in the nuts so hard that he puked, this is the movie for you. Because that happens.
I think everybody secretly wants that.
It's so good.
Because
I loved it.
Josh Gad is kind of awesome, but also kind of really fucking annoying too sometimes.
Right. But
in equal measures.
It has such a heartwarming story to it as well. There's like this. There's some heart to it that like. You feel like in this film almost it doesn't deserve to have this level of heart, but you get it and you enjoy it. And man, I can't speak highly enough about this movie. I think more people need to check it out. It's still streaming free on Hulu. It's exclusively on Hulu for people to check out. And I think they should, because it's, especially if you're a horror comedy fan, if you're a fan of something like Shaun of the Dead, you're a fan of Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, stuff like that. If that's the stuff that you're into, then this pays homage to all that stuff and goes in its own direction as well. It's a ton of fun, and I watched it. This is one of those movies that when I first saw it, I watched it alone very late at night, and I was like covering my mouth up because I was laughing at times and I didn't want anyone else to wake up. And then when my wife woke up, I immediately told her, I was like, you got to watch this movie with me. So we made breakfast, we had coffee, we sat down and we watched this movie together, and I watched it twice in 24 hours, and I've still seen it 2 more times.
I'm sure Lauren liked it
since
too.
then. Lauren loved it. So we've seen it twice. We've seen it 2 more times since then. So it's a movie that resonated with me and stuck with me. So that's what makes it on my list. I know this is one of those ones that like people may not agree with.
No, I love this. I mean, I really am obviously a huge supporter of obscure films that we love to get it on our list.
But this is the exact type of genre film that is up my alley that will resonate with me for years to come.
Yes.
So when I find out people haven't seen it, I'm going to definitely this is going to be like, I always recommend things like Ex Machina, and I recommend things.
I think people have caught up to that now.
People have caught up to that stuff now.
Finally.
Now this is one where I can be like, hey man, you got to see this one. Like this
I'll catch you soon, I promise.
This is my new film that like when people are like looking for something to watch, I'm like, hey, have you checked this out yet? No? You need to. So, Jay, what is your number 2, buddy?
My number 2 is Booksmart.
What the fuck is this?
Me ask the question!
Oh my god. Oh shit. Is this some Manson family shit? What is this?
No! Everything is gonna be just fine. You're just gonna give us the address to where you delivered some pizzas tonight.
Oh my god, are you guys out of your fucking mind? How old are you, by the way?
Does not matter!
Okay, that voice did not make you sound older, so you're basically children, and you just willingly got in the car of a strange man. Do you guys have a weapon?
Yes?
If we claim to have a weapon, this might be a felony.
Okay, so you're using your hair as a mask and trying to rob someone with no weapon. Because the funny thing is, I actually have a weapon. I keep that to protect myself from bad people, something you guys should be thinking about. Did the possibility of sexual assault ever enter your minds?
Not really.
Yeah, so this was my number 1 film for a good chunk of the year. I was blown away.
Yeah,
this came out in the spring.
You saw this a couple days before I did, so you were singing its praises to me. I actually wasn't. I'm usually okay with waiting for comedies. Like I don't want to rush to the theater to see them because I feel like comedies can speak to you in your living room as much as they can when you're in the theater. You know what I mean? There is not so much of a visual spectacle behind it. But after your like praise of it, I was like, I guess I got to see it now.
Yeah. So I think I saw this around the same time as Good Boys. And Good Boys was obviously a lot more underwhelming for me because of the trailer I loved. But the movie overall as a whole was a little underwhelming, even though I still had fun with it. Now, Booksmart is just phenomenal. Like, it blew me away. Like, phenomenal. I mean, in so many aspects between the directing, acting, the writing, how relevant it is today in this kind of culture, in this kind of society with kids and everything, but also the fact of playing with the genre, right? You know, this is a very stereotypical type of genre.
Do you have a favorite scene?
It's so fresh.
Like, do you have a favorite scene from the film?
Pretty much everything with Billy Lord.
Okay. So
I think that her character is so brilliantly well written and how she just flutters into the movie overall.
My favorite scene is in the pizza delivery car where they're wearing their hair masks.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes to hand her a phone. He's just like, "You just showed me your password. What are you doing? You're teenage. You could have been killed. You could." And then you later on see his poster. It's wanted. He's warning these young girls about all the dangers out there.
Right. It's so very self-aware, but like tongue in cheek, like, I don't know. It's so funny. It's so, this is a movie that people need to watch. Like, this is my movie that I've been saying to people throughout the year to go watch.
Yeah.
And this is my Little Monsters film. So,
there you go.
I'm definitely
I think a lot more people have seen Booksmart than have seen Little Monsters, though.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But still, people need to catch up to it.
All right, Jay, my number 2. I'm starting to get the feeling like this might be on your list. It just hasn't come up yet. But it is the Korean film Parasite.
오셨어요. 오, 다송아, 저거 봐. 우리 짜파구리 먹자. 짜파구리.
So, man, directed by Bong Joon-ho, Parasite is just this absolute, I hate this term, but I'm going to use it. It's a tour de force, Jay. It's a tour de force of character, of acting, of writing, smart writing.
It's genius.
And it just comes together in such a way that it's like, this film is both a comedy, a thriller, a little bit of horror, and a big satirical piece on society, and not just society in South Korea, but like society here as well, class distinction and everything like that. It was a film that I heard so much good buzz about, and when I finally got to see it, I put myself in this mind frame of, I'm not sure what I'm going into, but I know I'm going into something that people find very reverent. So I'm going to go in open-minded, and I'm very happy that I did go in that open-minded, because, what I got was so much more than I ever could have expected from a film that, a lot of times foreign films for us and a lot of people in the States get ignored. And I think this one is so powerful that nobody is ignoring it. Like, it's, it may win an Oscar for best foreign film, but it may be nominated for best film overall. Like,
my best picture, yeah.
It is so fucking well done. Since I haven't heard it on your list yet, I can only assume that it's still coming up. So I'm going to stop talking about it now. I'm going to let you, Jay, run through your honorable mentions.
All right. So my first honorable mention is Peanut Butter Falcon. Love this movie. This is also one of my early favorites in the year.
Also on my honorable mentions list as well.
Yes, so. and it's a special film I think people need to watch. Like, this is another one of those films that I think you and I both advocate to, like, say, like, okay, and have you heard about this film? Go check it out.
On top of that, if you aren't like you're an indie film fan, but you are someone who maybe likes wrestling, this has Jake the Snake Roberts in it, Mick Foley. It has some, like, if you look around in the background, there's some wrestling legends hidden in there.
Yeah.
And what's the guy's name who plays Rat Boy? Yayo Wolf. He's a guy who's
Thomas Hayden Church is in there playing a former wrestler too, which is kind of fun.
He's playing a saltwater wrestler. Saltwater redneck. But there's a lot to enjoy just in the background of this film alone. But the performances pushed forward so well. And, you know, John Bernthal's not given a whole lot to do in this film, but
look, he's a solid supporting role. He served his purpose.
There actually isn't even a speaking line with him. I don't think he says a word because
I don't think it needs to. He did such a great job with his chemistry with Shia LaBeouf and just seeing his flashbacks.
A chemistry that I think carries over from Fury. Like I know those two.
Yeah.
I know those two
exactly.
are. I don't want to say
they were very very close,
but yeah,
they were. They all everybody in the tank in that movie, even though it was a rough shoot, they all bonded quite well, and it makes sense.
So, but man, I absolutely loved this movie when I was watching it, so it's on my honorable mentions as well.
Very good.
Jay, other honorable mentions.
Number 7, The Lighthouse, man. Lighthouse was something special. It's one of the most, by far, unique films that you will see in 2019.
Why did you want to become a wiki boy?
Robert Eggers did something very unique, very special.
I saw you consorting with them goals. Best leave them be.
I think this could be one of Dave's favorite quotable films of the year as well.
It's not on my honorable mentions list. I did enjoy this movie, but I think there was so much left on the table for it that I was just like, I really enjoyed its. I really enjoyed its visual aspect. I really enjoyed that stuff. There wasn't much of a story to go off of.
I think this is one of my late night things that I'm going to be throwing on.
I watched it late night, dude. I watched it like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Just to get immersed in that world again.
It was just
to put me to sleep.
There just wasn't enough there for me to say like.
And this is why it's on my honorable mentions
ever want to
list,
go back to this ever again?
It's something I really respected, and appreciated. But again, it's you know, it's not something you're gonna be revisiting too often,
right? Also, its story was so obvious, right? Like the character that we were getting with Robert Pattinson, I felt was extremely obvious from the beginning of the film until we get the revelation of who he actually is. But it was so obvious that I was just like, okay, like I didn't care about that. That wasn't why I was watching. I was watching for their performances.
Their performances were alone. Both Oscar-worthy caliber for sure.
Yep,
both of them.
All right, Jay. Any other honorable mentions?
I got 3 more. Ford versus Ferrari, by far one of the best studio films of the year. Old school. If you're a car fan in any aspect, racing. Watch this movie. It is so well executed, so well done. Christian Bale, Matt Damon knock it out of the park. Tracy Letts did a fantastic job playing one of the Ford owners.
Yeah, it was good stuff. It's not on my list, but it was good stuff.
A lot of fun with it. And then number 9 is Little Women. I had some editing issues with the movie. However, it was minor because all aspects of this film other than that was phenomenal in every aspect, between the acting, the production design, and the story as well, which was beautiful. And then number 10 is Joker, because Joker was a tour de force, powerful Joaquin Phoenix film that I thought did a great job portraying the Joker, and Todd Phillips did something that I don't think anybody thought he could do, and he did a phenomenal job with this movie, even though it didn't quite end on the way that I wanted it to end, and that definitely dropped my grade for the film overall, I remember. But overall, it's still a well-regarded, really well-done film, and kudos to them for that project.
Fair enough, man. Our honorable mentions don't cross over as much as our main list does. I already said, Peanut Butter Falcon, that's on there. But Knives Out, which was on your list, that's also on mine, so I won't talk about it too much. Another one that I really enjoyed, rewatched a few nights ago as well, was Blinded by the Light. I really enjoyed this film. I love, obviously, Bruce Springsteen music without, but I love this coming-of-age story that it fits in there. For me, it was kind of like this year's Edge of 17.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really enjoyed this movie. I love the setting. I love the world that it's set up, and it had so much heart that like it made me cry, it made me laugh, it made me sing along with it. It did a whole lot for me, and I couldn't fall in love with it enough. Another one that I fell in love with because of the comedy in it and also the heart that it had in it was Jojo Rabbit. I fucking loved Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah.
Taika Waititi knocked it out of the park with this movie, and he was able to blend his brand of comedy with this incredibly heavy source material that he was
difficult to do,
and he put so much heart behind it. And this movie very well could have turned out as a big blunder in his career, but he took the risk, and he knew what he was doing, and Fox Searchlight backed him in doing it, and it worked out to so many wonderful degrees. I absolutely loved this movie, and this is another movie. I laughed with it, I cried with it, I fucking left the theater seeing it just going like, oh my God, I can't wait to watch it again. And Jay, my final honorable mention is a film that's not touched your list at all, but I loved it because it was a proper superhero movie, but also a proper comedy as well. It was Shazam. I loved Shazam. It was.
Thank you for putting that on.
Yeah,
I love that movie as well.
It was so like a lot of people point to it and say like, oh, that's just their version of the Marvel formula, and it's like, no, I think it's more than that, dude. I think it is, Warner Brothers. It was their showcase of like, this is what we can do moving forward, and then they have the Joker to follow that up this year in their comic book realm, and just being like, we can do this too. We can have fun with it, and when we could show you the gritty realism of it at the same time. But Shazam it was another film that like it made me laugh a lot, but it had some great superhero action in it, and it made me fall in love with these kids and the story. And I think the ending elevates it a lot for me. Just having
it definitely does.
Superman show up at the end.
Oh, absolutely.
And just the little music, wah, bum, 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 in the score playing as Superman walks in and sits down. It was good. I absolutely love this movie, and it's the first DCEU movie that like came out where I was like, I'm not just on board with it, I'm 100% on board with it, and I can't wait for a sequel, and I hope a lot of them are like this. And part of me thinks that maybe Wonder Woman was delayed a little bit to make Wonder Woman a little bit less like what they've done previously and a little bit more like this. So, and also to get it out of the way of Star Wars because it was coming out same day as Star Wars. So, all right, Jay, that's it for my honorable mentions, man. Your number one.
My number one. Parasite. My God, this is a perfect movie.
It is.
It is an original script written and directed by Bong Joon-ho, and this is just stunning filmmaking in every aspect. I don't care who you are, just get over yourself with the whole subtitles thing and just watch this movie. You are going to be blown away by it.
It still carries a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. That means there's one asshole out there, one asshole professional critic.
That's all it takes.
Who rated it poorly. But
it is. I don't even know what to say. Like it's so spectacularly like well done in every aspect as far as the writing, as far as scoping out a story that touches on so many political aspects, and then also having a lot of comedy, dark comedy, a lot of horror, a lot of suspense, so many different thematic moments sprinkled in throughout this movie, and a huge massive shift in tone for the whole film too.
And it lives and dies
like 70% into the film. All of a sudden, boom, switch.
It lives and dies on its script as well, because like what was on the page, what they set up for each character in the first 2 acts that come back in the third act, it does
all
it
the way to the very end.
Does it really well, because it doesn't do it in an in-your-face style. It doesn't wink and nod at you and go, remember that? Like, it's something you think back on and go,
done
like,
in an intelligent way, because also these characters in this movie, doesn't matter if you're dead poor or rich, even though the rich are supposed to be a little bit more, they kind of play them up to being a little bit more dummies, but they're not. Everybody is so intelligent in this film,
but also like
different.
The things that they did with the directing and the cinematography of like always having the Kim family walking up the hill to go right, and they live down below in the dredges, and like literally their neighborhood is swallowed up by shit.
There's a beautiful sequence when they're racing down to their home to save their things in their house, and it's getting flooded out
with shit
and everything, literally shit. Just sucking it up. And then it cuts to the family that they work for, and they're up on the hilltop just sipping on some wine,
blissfully
ignorant, and just loving the rainstorm.
So
it looks so beautiful out of their mansion glass, floor to ceiling windows, and it's a really beautifully well orchestrated shot and sequence.
But
and that's just one of many, because there's so many things going on in this movie. You can't spoil it. There's nothing. honestly,
tough.
there's not too much to say. I mean, you have to watch this movie.
It's
a
so weird that
must-watch.
like its characters fit so well into its story, but its setting fits so well into its story. Everything that you see on film and everything that you would read on a page just goes into the film to make it this almost cohesively perfect entity that becomes this film. It's
and
so
to be
good.
honest, I think this movie sprinkled its way into America, Hollywood and America's zeitgeist enough where this has the best chance at winning Best Picture. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it absolutely blew me away. I mean, I've enjoyed his films previously. Like, I like The Host, and I really, really liked Snowpiercer.
I did too. Yeah.
I
respected a lot. Now, I did not. I mean, I know on Netflix you can still watch Okja, and I never watched Okja, and I know it has some fans, but I heard it's just overall okay.
Right.
It's a weird little subject matter.
But after watching Parasite, I went back and I watched Snowpiercer, and I was picking up what was put on in that, and then seeing it where I'm not saying like Snowpiercer's a flawed film or anything, but it's not as perfect as Parasite, and then you're almost seeing his progression into telling the story he wants to tell in the very same vein that he did in Snowpiercer in a more perfect fashion.
Yeah. Well, he's on a roll, put it that way.
Yeah.
He's certainly on a roll, and he's a writer and director, an original writer and director, and this guy is super talented, and I'm really looking forward to seeing. He has nothing on his slate.
He has nothing.
Forward.
No.
And that's disappointing, obviously, but like I'm really gonna be excited to see what he does.
But if
next.
I see the name, Bong Joon-ho on
anything, I'm gonna go start revisiting his old films for sure. I've been meaning to anyway. Like you saw Mother, right? I haven't seen that one yet either. So, I'm gonna get back to it. And this has been an interesting year, Dave. I mean, for me, I'll just finish up really quick. It was a bit of a flip flop. I had some strong favorites, but even still, I'd had hope that it was going to end strong with this year because, I had Booksmart and Peanut Butter Falcon for the longest time, and early on in the year, and they were small little films. I was like, is anything going to wow me? Endgame, I loved Endgame. Bring me something else. And then finally, we really got treated with a lot of special, different kind of original films to
in the fall.
Finish out the 2019.
Absolutely.
And I am looking forward to 2020.
All right, Jay, my number one. You already mentioned it, but it's Avengers Endgame.
Assemble.
And we talked about it a fair bit. Yes, it is a perfect conclusion to the MCU that we've gotten so far. Some people may disagree with that. I know there's some people who are MCU haters, Disney haters, and stuff like that. But as far as like being given something that builds on everything that's come before it, this is it, man. And I know a lot of people are like, Star Wars Rise of Skywalker's not on your list, not even in my honorable mentions. Honestly, I don't think I've sat with it long enough for me to really.
It's a bit of a shock for me too.
Yeah, it's
because I don't think
it's a bit of a shock.
Since we've recorded, we've had 3 Star Wars films.
Yeah,
since we've been recording this podcast.
No, we had The Last Jedi. We did not do The Force Awakens. We were not recording when The Force Awakens.
Really?
Comes out.
Okay, but obviously Rogue One. And
we did Rogue One, Solo, and The Last Jedi,
and they've always been somewhere on your list.
Not Solo. Solo was not on a list.
Not even honorable mentions?
I don't believe so. No.
Okay. Well, for some reason I thought so. But anyway, actually, no, I think you're right. But anyway, it's going to be one of those films, Dave, right? So it's going to take a little bit more time. You, for example, Solo, you've actually enjoyed that movie.
I've grown to like it a lot more.
Grown to like it a little bit more.
Which is why, I'll sit on the list. I'll sit on the Rise of Skywalker, and I may enjoy it more. I've seen it 3 times, right? Seen it 3 times, and I come out feeling the same way every time, where it's just like, yep, did I like where Rey ended? Sure. Did I like how we got there? Not really. You know, did I like some things in that movie? Loved some things in that movie. But was I crazy about the story that I got overall? No. There's a scene.
The issues in there are not going to go away.
Here's one of the things, we didn't do news this week, but here's one of the things that came out this week. If you buy the Rise of Skywalker visual dictionary, you find out that Lando's entire skin in the game is that he's been out there looking for his daughter who went missing years ago and was supposedly kidnapped by the First Order. And then you have Jaina, who is a young girl kidnapped by the First Order, made to be a...
Come on.
Right. So that is a big plot point that you could have put in that movie that would have both...
It makes so much more sense now.
And it also makes me wrong because I said Lando's getting laid by Jaina at the end. Hell no, that would be some fucking gross incest shit. No, that's
why I was surprised.
That
like
Jaina's his daughter. It's implying it that she's his daughter, or at least that they're on the path to figuring that out. And the fact that they don't extrapolate on the fact that Finn is extremely force sensitive, where he says, that's the ship. Why?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just have a feeling. And it's like, you just leave that hanging there in the end. It's nothing that's ever really addressed.
Yeah.
But so there's so much that they tried to fit in. And there's so much that had to fall to the wayside that it's like, hey, it's going to be explained in comic books and books coming forward, that it's just like, I'm more interested in that stuff than I am in the film that you gave me. So when I think about Avengers Endgame, again, back to my number one, is that this is how you end a saga. This is how you end it. This is how you both pay fan service, but also fan service that makes sense for your characters, for your story that you have. And it's my number one, Jay, because I've said this probably a half a dozen times on the show. It's one of the few times I've been sitting in a movie theater and I felt the exact same emotion that everybody else was feeling at the exact same time.
Oh my God.
When that hammer,
I'll never forget that.
When that hammer picks up and it goes to Captain America's hand, there was so many people who were just like, at the
people
same
were
time.
jumping out of their seats.
Jay, I was one of those people. I literally jumped up and I went, I knew it. Like, I knew it the whole time that oh my God. And just the fight that happens there and the whole sequence leading up to him standing up. And it's like, it's weird. It's like you're saying that this is your number one film because of a moment. And it's like, yeah, because that moment made me feel so many more things than anything else did that year.
I know.
Parasite, sure. I'm sure we were all feeling that same emotion at the same time. But we were all quiet about it. We were all just absorbing it. This was something that I was seeing with 200 to 300 other people, and we were all feeling that emotion, and we were all comfortable enough to express it, you know? And
it was so well done that you had to. It was so perfectly executed.
Right. I don't think Avengers Endgame is a perfect movie in the same way that I think Parasite is a perfect movie.
Oh, not at all. But
I think...
But at the same time, because of the content, because of the decade-long build-up,
right,
and the ups and downs of the films and with the characters and yada yada yada, it all came to a perfect conclusion.
It did
in many ways,
yeah.
At least in my mind too. And so, some people don't like like certain aspects. Some people do. I mean, it depends. Like we love it. We did, and I've also felt the same emotions with everybody in the audience. I saw it 2 or 3 times in the theaters myself. I still fucking watch, the end sequences on like YouTube and stuff like that and get choked up because it's that powerful, and it's that special. It's that unique.
And I don't think it could exist.
It's going to stick with me for a long time.
It couldn't exist without a decade's long worth of films. And
it wouldn't work either. I wouldn't be getting this choked up every single time still.
But I did like last night
with tears.
Last night, watching it for New Year's Eve, I still I wanted to rewatch it because I was like, is this my number one? I went back and forth. Is it this or is it Parasite? Because technically, as a film, Parasite's the best film this year. Just, I think, bar none. I think just period. It is just the best film this year. But as far as like my level of enjoyment, as far as my rewatchability, and as far as like the way I feel about it, as far as I have just like
I understand.
I was watching Avengers Endgame and I still teared up. I still teared up when he said Avengers Assemble. And I was just like, yep, yeah, this is still it for me. This is still the thing that keeps me that keeps me going. That still has me geeking out and stuff like that. That has me excited for what they have coming to Disney Plus for it. if it didn't end that way, if I was soured on the way Endgame went, I would be.
This would have been a rough year for you, buddy, if you didn't have Endgame or a Star Wars movie on your top 10.
Right. It would have been a rough year for me.
Goddamn.
You'd
You'd be crying different tears.
I would be. But, ultimately, I still enjoyed the year that we got, because I think that because we got so many films that were middling or didn't live up to the potential.
They were fine.
That didn't live up to their potential, that the true standouts got to stand out more. And, I don't have Joker on my list because I wasn't as hot on it as you were, I loved his performance. I loved Joaquin Phoenix's performance. I thought it was damn near a perfect performance, but I didn't love the movie around it. I didn't love the story that I got all around it. So it didn't go on my list because
I like the indie sensibilities about it.
Yeah.
And that was a big part of my draw.
But that's it, man. That's going to do it for our list, for our 2019 top 5.
I want to hear from everybody else. So please, guys, reach out to us and let us know what your personal.
So you can reach out to Jay on Facebook, Super Movie Bros Podcast on there. You can listen. You can check me out on Twitter at Super Movie Pod. Jay runs the Instagram, Super Movie Bros, over there. And then I also have an Instagram. It's SMB Dave. So, and if you're enjoying the content that you are getting, please make sure that you join our Patreon. Patreon is www.patreon.com/supermoviebrospodcast. I'm going to be putting up something kind of special. Some people may have heard it before, but it's going to go up there. It is Star Wars related, and there is something in the pipeline that I am working on for just myself. Jay won't be involved, but it is Star Wars, and it will be a Star Wars related show. So if you would like a preview of that show, head over to our Patreon, because you're going to get 7 episodes just right out the gate, straight there on Patreon. So I want to thank all you guys for listening. Have a great night. Cheers.
Cheers.